Okay, so the second. Well, this is the fourth episode, and this is the second part of it. Um, okay, so we covered in the first part all the players that we had sold quickly, and the fact that we'd sold a lot of older players for good prices. We'd sold um, a lot of younger players for sort of double or even more than double what we paid for them, and that we had made one huge mistake in that striker that unfortunately we sold before anything. We knew what damage he was going to do off the bench. So what else has happened? So we've released these two guys. People have signed them both, but we got no money really worth talking about. They just we probably should have released them earlier. I don't know. I think one of them actually sat on the bench in one match this season. Um, through choice, because he was as an option. I think it was this guy, Mathis Boss, because actually, he's not that terrible. I mean, he yeah. Anyway, he's gone. We got basically nothing for him. Who else has gone? So this guy's gone. We paid 220 grand for this guy. He was one of our stopgap sort of solutions. We paid 220. We had him listed at 500. He didn't do bad for us. Seven stars, not off the bench, 3 goals, average rating over 7. He actually did a job. But again, I mean, a decent age or whatever, decent player. But again, we got him for 220, and we sold him for 500 during the close season. So he's going to be transferred. All in all, he's just way nowhere near good enough, basically. And we're all right. We don't mind seeing this guy. We need better. We need better players. Either we need just better players if we want to win stuff, or we should be actually building a proper team that plays a proper tactic, with proper younger players being integrated to build towards something over time. This sort of playing of just picking up guys like this for 220 grand just because we sold a striker. We just don't have any strikers, so we just need a striker, so we just have to get one in. This style of playing was sort of fine, and we've accumulated a lot of money doing it. We probably could have continued to accumulate a lot more money, and we might sort of still play like that to a degree, but he's gone. Basically, he's gone, and I have no doubt that we'll just can pick up another guy who's, as good or as bad as this player, depending on how you look at it, for this, 220 or whatever. So cheap again. So we've also sold this guy. We got, I think, he offered 725 or something. It's a bit weird that you would offer that amount when the auto accepted that, but he offered that. We accepted it, and I think he was an outbid. So we got 725k for this guy. This is a guy at the start that said he's probably going to start for the first couple of seasons because and he has. We've had him. He started. He's done okay, but again, he just forward jumping. He can't really play centre half. 70 pace. He's not really that great a fullback, and he can't. He's just sort of deficient physically, and some other real big gaps here, like determination, decisions. You can't, reading a game. But again, we've had him. We've used him. We got a good price. We're just waiting until somebody eventually offered this auto accept, and they basically did, and he's gone. And for that type of money, the 700, I guess the $500,000 to $1 million range, we could get a player just materially better than this guy, which we've done already. So we can look at him after. We actually picked this guy up for basically nothing, 12k, and he's deficient in lots of ways, but we knew that he was just going to do a job for us, and he has done a job. Like in the league, 7.03. He's been really nice, actually. He's done a lot better than I even expected that he'd do. He's a bit slow or whatever, but all of our defenders are a bit slow or whatever. He's deficient. They're all deficient. The rest of his attributes are pretty nice. He's done well. He's done better than we expected. I think we're just happy to sort of use him next season. Obviously, like all of our players, he's got to auto accept the amount set at $500,000. I highly doubt that anyone will pay it, but I also sort of doubt that people will pay some of the other amounts that we've had players listed for. Maybe he will go, who knows. This player, we picked him up for 250k. Somebody has since offered 500k, which we didn't accept. He's listed at 750k. The reason why we didn't sort of accept the 500k is because he's just done quite well. He's quite nice. He's got high natural fitness, which is so he's not going to tail off much. He's going to be good for next season. We're happy to go with this guy. We're happy to start this guy next season, and I think that somebody's eventually going to trigger this 750. To be honest, he's nice. He's actually a defender that we've got that isn't deficient. Basically, he's a good centre half. He's a nice, good, solid centre half, and we're happy to use him. This guy as well, another nice, solid centre half. He's really slow, so he's a bit deficient there. But at least he's good in the air. So, at least he's got that, and he's got some nice skills. And he's done well for us. We got him for 600k. I don't know if somebody will offer the 1.5 million or not. They might. The pace is a bit off-putting, but that's also why we got him for 600k in the first place. So we're happy to keep using this guy, though. That's the point. So the auto accept value was pushed out because we're more than happy for nobody to ever buy him and just keep him. This guy isn't transfer listed. We want to stick by this guy. He absolutely dominated in our first season when we actually had a good team that dominated the league. 7.91, completely dominated. This season he's really struggled in the long ball defensive type tactic we've played. He's not been good at all, but he's a nice quality player. If we can just have a little bit more quality in the side overall, I think he'll come good again. Not like the first season, because in the first season our team was just had way more quality than the teams we played against. Now that's not going to be the case because we're in Division 1 of RFA, so it's always he's never going to dominate like this again, but he can certainly do something in between. I believe he can average hopefully above 7 again before his career's out, and go back to sort of 10 assists and 10 goals type. I mean, a bit over 7, 10 goals, 10 assists type seasons. I think that's totally realistic. And he's a nice player. We're happy to stick by him. We don't want him transfer listed. We don't want to encourage bids for him. This guy is listed at 400. He's 33. He's getting a bit on now. He's sort of tailed off a bit from last season. Obviously, he's going to continue to tail off. I think ideally we probably don't want to be starting this guy, but the fact is he's still quite nice on paper, and he's still performed okay. We're happy to keep him. If somebody pays the 400, he will go, but otherwise we're happy to keep him. I don't know if he will sort of be key starter next season like he has been, but he's going to end up part of the first team, coming off the bench nearly every game at the least, and starting probably whenever somebody is unavailable. I think he still has a big role to play. We're happy to. He's been he's not performed super well, but he's been reliable. He's a reliable performer. The first season, again, he did really, really well. He's tailed off. Never expect him to go back to that. But we have trust in this guy. He's going to be 34 next season as well. If somebody wants to pay that 400k, everybody has their price. That's his price. But we're happy to stick by him. This guy, he had a nice little run of form towards the end and pulled his rating up to 6.5, but he was really underperforming before that. You can see he got a goal and an assist in that last game of the season. So before the last game of the season, he had 1 goal and 0 assists in 13 matches for a winger, and he's got really nice attributes. We expected more, to be honest. He really let us down. But we'll stick by him. We're gonna stick by him. Keep using him. He's listed at 750. He's 30 years old. He disappointed us. If somebody wants to pay the money, they can have him. But if and until they do, we're gonna stick by him. We'll keep using him. We might try him as an impact bench if he just still can't do anything starting. We might try him we probably play some friendlies next season at the start. Try him out as a substitute instead. See if that does something for him. See if he performs better maybe. If that is the case, he's a really nice impact sub to have. So we're happy to stick by this guy. Persevere. This guy, he's a bit deficient for a winger because he's slow. Well, not slow, he's just average 10. But he's got some nice technical attributes. He's quite well rounded with like an attacking creative focus. I don't like him as a wing back. He's not good enough defensively, but as a left mid, so it was weird because we've been playing him mostly as right wing because we've had the other guy that we just looked at last, Reynolds, I think, as the left winger. So they've been our wingers. To be honest, they've both underperformed because this guy as well in the last game of the season, he scored 2 goals. So in the last game, between them, they got 3 goals and assist. But like we said, the other guy without that, he did nothing the whole season. And this guy without these 2 goals, he got 1 goal and 1 assist in the league in 19 matches, if you don't include this. So both of them right up until that last game, they were just bitterly disappointing. They were woefully bad. We also quite often, basically in matches this season, we had substituted, not often, but sometimes, we'd substituted off the left winger. We brought on a right midfielder and we brought this guy back to left midfield to go more defensive. This guy, I feel, probably, he's just better. He's just way more well-rounded. He's just way, but I think he'd just be better as a left midfielder than a right winger. I mean, we could play him in left wing and he'd become proficient there if we wanted to. So it's not about that. I just think he's better just being pulled back a bit. I think his attributes are more well-rounded. I think he'd be better in that role. That might happen. He's 25 years old, so he's actually listed at 1.25. I think that's totally feasible that somebody will pay this and he'll go if that happens. But at the end of the day, he's unlike the older guys. This guy, if he ends up just being a bench for us, he's not going to get worth less anytime soon. So we're better off just to keep him on the books, hold out for a decent price. And as a substitute, he's pretty nice. He's kind of versatile, can play a few roles. He's really good quality for a substitute. So if that ends up being the case, that's fine. That's fine. We'll be okay with that. Again, so we'll stick by that guy in summary. This player we covered, we'd sold. This guy we actually bought just before the transfer deadline because he was going to be the player that was going to propel us to the league title, to score the goals that we needed. And then he got a 6-match injury, basically missed the whole run into the season and only scored 1 goal in the 5 matches. So I think in the 11 matches that we had when we bought him, we had 11 matches to play, or 12 even maybe. He scored 1 goal. So he obviously didn't propel us to the league title, unfortunately. But on paper, this player is of a materially higher standard than the other strikers we had. He's quite nice looking. We'll stick by him. Keep using him. He's 32. He's a bit old, but whatever. He'll be good to go for next season. We'll keep using him. We'll keep starting him. I think there's a pretty good chance somebody's going to trigger this 1 million, and we're going to lose him at some point. Until then, we're just going to stick by him. 16 finishing, 17 composure, 16 off the ball, 14 long shots. Really nice, well-rounded physicals. Good sort of creative passing, and well, not really good creative, but decent enough. And then on top of that, not that it matters too much, but if we want to, when we press, he's got tackling as well. So we're happy. We're going to go with this guy next season up front, basically. Right, so now into some substitutes that we picked up. Basically, right midfielder, we paid 210k. We just needed numbers. He's 28. I think somebody's going to pay the 500 at some point. He's got some really nice 18 passing, 19 vision, 18 dribbling. He can finish. He's got decent pace. He's got endurance, determination. He's actually, nobody's perfect. He's not perfect, but he's got so many really, really high scores in attributes that people are really going to care about, and he's of a nice age. We might even try at the beginning of next season in some friendlies to play him in right midfield as a starter, to have Reynolds, let's go back, to basically the left winger, put him on the bench, see if he can give impacts up, move this guy to left midfield where we thought he'd play better, and put this guy in right midfield. Potentially we could try that dynamic. This player, wing back, we just needed some numbers. We got him for nothing. He was released from contract. We were the only bidder, and he's, I don't know, for nothing. He looks pretty nice to me, to be honest. I think there's a chance somebody's going to pay the auto, except rounded physically, and again, he's I guess for a wing back, he's not that great defensively, but really, really good creatively. Maybe, not too bothered. We just needed some numbers, and for us, he's sitting on the bench pretty much every match, just to give us the option to go more defensive, because this player can be pulled back to wing back, to left wing back. So we have the option to sub off Reynolds basically for this guy, and instead of going with the advanced wingers, have wing backs. But unfortunately, to pull that off, we also need to do a double sub, because we have to also sub off our left back, and then go 3. So it's like a double sub, and it only ever happened once. So it all sounded good in theory, but in practice it didn't really happen. This guy, we paid 75k. As you can see, again, he's just really deficient physically. He's deficient all over the place. But he's done a job. 20 starts, 8 off the bench, 8 goals. He's played okay. 75 grand. We can't complain with this guy's contribution. He's listed at 350. He'll be 34 next season. Somebody will probably pay it at some point, because people panic when they're not scoring goals, and they always, like we did, But again, we're just happy to have him around. We're happy to have him around. We don't want to be starting this guy ideally next season. We're more than happy to have him to cover. This guy is sold. We got 100k. He's actually a player that we bought for like 50k or something. Sold him for 300. Bought him back for 30, and now sold him for 100. So he's been sold for a profit twice. He's not coming back again. With the 33 years old, he's deteriorated, and our level of competition has got too high. I think you can see we used him quite a bit off the bench. He was okay. Next season, I think he's just not going to make the cut. Not if we're aiming to win stuff. So he's gone. We got 100k. That's fine. This player, we paid 320. Listed at 650. He's not as deficient physically as the other attacking players that we picked up. 16 finishing, 17 composure, 16 off. These quite nice goal scoring attributes. Somebody will probably trigger this auto accept at some point. He's probably slightly underperformed in the league, but then if you look at the whole picture, I may be okay with the Cubs. The thing for him, I guess, the key thing here is his endurance is too low for him to really start. We started him a lot because, despite that fact, he was still better than anything we had. He's probably a nice impact substitute, and that's hopefully the role that we can set up for him next season until he's sold, which I think somebody will pay the amount. This player played a lot. His low natural fitness, and he's too slow, and he can't jump, and he's deficient in lots of ways. He's listed at 500,000. We're going to keep him around. He's quite versatile. We can play roles. Holding midfield, I think, is his optimal role. I see this guy, though, ideally just being a substitute that's a versatile substitute, and hopefully not starting a lot next season. But again, we're happy to keep this guy on board. Our keeper, we're happy to go with him again next season. In the league, he really let us down in the cup. Really let us down both the cups. He just got us knocked out. We controlled the matches. I mean, we didn't dominate them, but we controlled them. We had the run of the play, and he just really let us down. We got knocked out both the cups. But in the league, as you can see, 6.97 is actually a really nice average rating for a keeper, especially for a team that's pushing for the title. You can sometimes get keepers with higher average ratings in teams that aren't that great, and the other team's constantly having a lot of shots, and it allows him to get a lot of saves potentially. But for 6.97 is really good, and we're happy to go with him again. Basically, we're happy to go with him again. We're always on the lookout in case we can improve him, get an improvement, but we're happy to go with him again. Our backup keeper, who also has the same last name, we got him for 10k. He's listed at 400. He's got a nice age. Somebody might buy him for that. That's why he's listed at that. But he's a backup keeper for sure. If we sell our starting keeper, we're definitely going to want to be picking up another goalkeeper, basically. But we're happy as a backup. This guy we paid like 70k. he's 30 years old. He's actually like he's listed at 250. I think there's a very real chance we might sell him because he's actually kind of his. If you're looking at like a midfielder, basically, if you're looking at a defender, no. But if you're looking for a central midfielder, he can pass, teamwork, work rate. Physically, he's okay overall, and he's kind of got long. He's a decent goal scoring attributes for a central midfielder. Attributes wise, he's not too bad. He's not good enough for the level of football that we're playing, but for a user in a lower division, I think he could be a pretty handy pickup. I think he could do all right in central midfield and not in the defense, not in the defensive position, but in central midfield. I think he looks okay. And for us, even you can see 3 starts, 6 off. He actually played some matches. He didn't do particularly well, but he's actually played. So we got him as cover basically because we were short, and obviously he's ended up starting 3 matches actually. So. We don't need to cover these youth players again. We bought them before, we covered them, we still got them. They're all still here. As you can see, we bought a whole bunch of youth players and we're left with the goalkeeper and defenders. They're all listed at amounts that aren't too high. We sold one of the defenders. They might be picked up at some point. So that's who's come in. That's our season. I mean, if we want to look at the league, let's look at the league. So basically what's happened is, and there's actually a separate sort of running set of episodes that every single match that I played, I've covered it. So we've lost the league by 3 points. We could have won it. I mean, I guess everybody could always win it, but the thing is, even if you play through all of the matches, there's a lot of matches where I said I've obviously made mistakes. If we made less mistakes, we would have easily pulled those 3 points back. I mean, obviously the user who's won it, they would have made mistakes throughout the season as well. And if they didn't they could say exactly the same thing. You know, if they didn't make mistakes, they would have won by more. But the point is that we've made mistakes. We've known them basically straight after we played the match. Hopefully, we've got better as a result of that. We've learnt more. And next time a similar season happens to this, we'll end up winning the league instead of finishing second. And then the other key point, obviously, is that our striker, who scored 6 goals in 1 start, 6 games off the bench at the start of the season, and pretty much turned a whole bunch of draws into wins and a couple of losses into draws, just keeping him and him performing at half or even a quarter of that level for the rest of the season off the bench, would have won us the league as well. But that's all. I guess it's all. Whenever something's closer, it's always to do. You can say that basically. If things were different, then it would be different. That's totally obvious. But I think in this case, it's because we've recorded our individual matches and we've pointed out all the mistakes as and when we've made them. It's kind of just made it really obvious how many mistakes that you actually make over the course of a season. And how many points that were sort of potentially lost there. And then obviously when you're talking about who the player, last check he was, a couple of weeks ago he probably still is, the most prolific goal scorer in the entire game, and you sell him, that's a big loss. But then he's also gone to your title rivals, so that's just a really obvious one to point out as well. Outside of that, it was actually a pretty tough season because there were no teams in the whole league that were basically pushovers. And you'll see that in the results. I think certainly the bottom 2, and I think the bottom 3 at home, we didn't beat any of them. Just to put it into perspective, it was a really tough league, which really brought it to the fore. I think it was a good one for the episode that we ran actually for each match, because every match was genuinely a challenge. Pretty much, it was, it helped to do the pre-match research. It helped to make lots of changes and to really, even against it was really tough games. Every point had to be earned this season, and because you can basically see it's like no team in the whole entire league. This one might. But no other team has lost more than half of their matches. So, And if he doesn't lose, if he loses the last match, he will have. If he doesn't, he won't have. And no other team has lost more than half of their matches. So going into any match, we've all things being equal, you've basically got less than a 50% chance of winning every single match, which makes them all really tough. And there's no sort of plus 22 goal difference for winning the league. That's a really low positive goal difference for winning the league. Minus 20 for finishing last. Again, that's not for a team that finishes last in the league, that's not a particularly bad goal difference. It was a really level, really tough league. It was really nice. It was a great season, and it was exactly the type of season that you would want to have done these episodes, where I covered all of the individual matches. If we look at the league leaders, you can see the goals. I mean, we were kind of like, for a team that finished second, nope, no top goal scorer. Assists, nope, no one there either. A man of the match, how about that one? Nope. What about, nope, nobody anywhere. So it was really like we certainly got way more than the sum of the parts this season. We really worked hard to get a lot of results, really pushed the title to the wire. So it was nice, a bit more quality. The thing is, the more quality you get, the more sort of set in your ways you can become. I think this has happened to me in beta. It's quite, because I've been playing the matches in beta as well, and I've noticed that you get, when my team is bad like this, every single match I'm properly okay, check my opponent, check it all, check the league table, check the goals, try to predict what type of tactic, try to make some changes, try to set it all up. I'm doing all of that. In beta, it's like I've had the same team for many seasons, and I don't really buy or sell players that much, and you sort of get set in your ways. It's like, this is your tactic, and actually it's like, I'm sure that I'm playing extremely suboptimally, basically, because of that, because being set in your ways. It's better if you kept on your toes, I think. Going into every match, assuming that you're going to have to work just to get a draw, and you're going to have to work hard to get a win, rather than taking anything for granted. That has absolutely made a massive difference in the points tally this season, having that mentality. And I think it's really hard to not get set in your ways with tactics and players. But that's something we're definitely going to try really hard to keep this current mentality going forwards, because it's made a huge difference. And if we had good players and that mentality, the result could potentially be pretty scary, to how easily you could win stuff. So okay, so that's I guess that's enough of the players who have come in, the season in review, and we've talked about who we want to have and who we're happy to keep and whatever. So I think that's a logical conclusion, and we're going to cut it off again for the easy upload, do the third part, which will be the last bit, which is to essentially cover everybody what the plan is going forwards, and to talk a bit about more this Reborn Legends and how we think all that might work out, and what we've, how much money we have, what we've done with the money, and what the plan is. We've got a plan now going forward, so we'll discuss what that is. Okay, thanks.